it made me physically feel better, but like instantaneously, it made me emotionally feel better as well because my body felt so much better. My name is Erika Waters and I live in North Carolina. So before my liver cleanse, I consider myself a pretty healthy person, but I have found like as I've gotten a little bit older that things that used to not bother me, my body like has some aches and pains and things like that it didn't have before. So probably for the last 3 to 5 years, I've just been focusing on things that I haven't had to focus on before, which is why I was intrigued by the Forgive cleanse. There was like 10 years of my life that I treated my liver very poorly and kind of wreaked havoc on it. And so, I've just had some issues with digestion and congestion and things like that. So I've been working on those for the last couple of years. I did the ZenCleanz Forgive, the liver cleanse, and it was really interesting because I've done other liver cleanses, like liver gallbladder cleanses in the past, and I didn't have like a bad experience with them. But what was really interesting to me was after I finished the ZenCleanz, like the final product of that was so much different than some of the other cleanses I've done. So after some of my other cleanses, like I passed stones and I passed things, and it was definitely productive in my overall health. But I was left at the end of that cleanse feeling like I wasn't completely emptied. And so I felt still like a little bit congested, which worried me a little bit because I was like, have I like loosened up stones that haven't come out yet? So I just felt a little bit congested after my other cleanses. The difference between the ZenCleanz was when I was done, like I felt congested as I was releasing stones during the ZenCleanz, and I felt a little bit sick. Like it wasn't anything horrible, but I did feel a little bit sick. I could tell that things were loosening up and that toxins were like getting freed in my body and things were moving through my system. But there was this moment in the ZenCleanz where I had passed a bunch of stones, and then at the end of that, I had this like massive release where it just like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it was just this like massive let go that I had, and it was this release, and like instantaneously my digestive system, my gut, everything, like it just felt like totally cleansed. And I was like, that was it. Like that was the moment that I had never experienced with any of my other cleanses. That was the kind of like the missing piece. The cool thing about that was that because I have digestive issues, so oftentimes, I'll get bloating, I'll get cramping, I'll get pain. My digestive system doesn't work 100% properly, as it should. And so I'll just kind of feel that in my emotions and in my physical health a lot because there's something not right. And the thing that happened to me after I went through the Forgive cleanse and after I had that like massive release at the end is like, it made me physically feel better, but like instantaneously, it made me emotionally feel better as well because my body felt so much better. So that was those two go hand in hand, right? And then I would say for at least the next 2 weeks after that, like my digestive system, it just worked so much more efficiently. And there would be like several times throughout the day that I would just stop and like think about how my body was actually feeling and be like, I feel so much better than I have in years because I can just tell that my systems are working properly and things are getting flushed out and things are functioning better. So after I experienced like that feeling for several weeks of like my system just functioning way better, it made me realize like how much my system was dysfunctioning before that. And I was thinking about it and I was like, hey, I'm in my 40s, like there's at least 10 years of my life that I made some pretty poor choices and like wreaked havoc on my organs, specifically my liver and gallbladder. And so that was the thing I was thinking about after it was like, that made me feel so good, but there's probably like, it's not necessarily like a one and done type of thing. Like it just made me want to do more cleanses, because we all want like this magic pill in our life where we can take one thing that makes us magically better, but like that's not really reality, And so I think the thing that this cleanse made me realize about myself is like health is a priority. And these cleanse, like that one cleanse did so much to make me feel so much better for a while, that it made me realize how I need to prioritize like putting that into like maybe a monthly routine or a bi-monthly routine, like as time goes on, because, you know, as we live, our bodies need to be cleansed. And so that was one thing that just made me realize was like, I want to make this a priority. And I feel like this product worked so much that it's worth it. I think so during my cleanse, a lot of mine was like it was like a physical reaction. You know, like I was very much paying attention to like how my body was feeling, because there was definitely times that it was uncomfortable, not super uncomfortable. Like again, compared to other cleanses, I think this cleanse, it was shorter as far as the time that you actually had to take the products, and it was much more tasty, and it was just easier. It was easier to do because I feel like ZenCleanz has done a great job of thinking through all of that. So there was a lot of physical stuff that I remember thinking through. The emotional side of it for me, it's kind of tied into the physical side of like, because my physical body felt so much better after the cleanse, then it tied into my emotions, right? Because like I feel like if our physical body is not feeling well, then our emotions are going to be off as well. So I think not so much during the cleanse did I have like any emotional highlights, but after the cleanse is where the emotional part really came in for me, because I saw like the lingering effect of how I was just feeling better in my body. So that translated over to my emotions. Like in my house, for example, like I felt like I was more peaceful with my family. I just felt like not as irritated, not as agitated, because my physical body was functioning more effectively. So the physical and the emotional were really tied kind of hand in hand for me. I've done a lot of fasts. I've done water fasts and juice fasts and all sorts of different fasts. I would say the main difference between dry fasting and fasting on enzymes is that I didn't feel depleted fasting on enzymes. Like a lot of times when I'll do a water fast or even a juice fast, I'll get like massive headaches, or I'll start to feel dehydrated, or I'll feel really hungry. One of the things that stood out to me during the ZenCleanz detox was that I didn't eat for almost 2 days, but I really didn't feel hungry. And you know, every hour on the hour, you're taking a different drink. And so I feel like my body was being replenished while I was like doing the cleanse, which is a really cool thing. And that's different than some of the other times I've done it. You know, I knew I was still getting a lot of the nutrition that my body needed, probably even more so. And so I didn't feel like a big crash or extreme hunger, things like that. So the advice that I would give to somebody that's getting ready to do a liver cleanse is like, get your mind right. Because I think like the physical part of it is part of the battle, but then like the mental part of it is the other half, right? And so I think when I got my mind to the place where I was like, hey, I want to be healthy, and this is why I want to be healthy, is because I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of not prioritizing my health. Then no matter how difficult it was for me physically, no matter how much I wanted to eat or things like that, if my mind was in the right place and I was doing it for the right reason, then your body can overcome anything. If your mind is fixed on like, hey, I'm going to do this, and this is why I'm going to do this, your body can do so much more than you give it credit for. And your mind can do so much more than you give it credit for as well. So I think that's the advice that I would give someone, is like, take time, get your mind right, figure out why you're doing this and what the health benefits are going to be and how this is going to better your life. And when it gets tough, focus on that and you won't quit. So I think the biggest thing that ZenCleanz brought to my life that was new or different was just like it reminded me of the importance of prioritizing your health, right? Like I said, I've always been a fairly healthy person. I like to be healthy. I like to feel good. But the way that I felt after my cleanse was like so much better than the way that I felt before my cleanse, that I was like, hey, I've been doing a good job, but ZenCleanz just kind of takes the guesswork out of it. Doing ZenCleanz and like the way that I felt after my cleanse, it just made me feel so good that it reminded me of how important health is and how much better of a lifestyle you're gonna have physically, mentally, emotionally when your body is healthy. So it was a good reminder to me to prioritize my health.